Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. Justin Coffin, Joe Danyi across from me. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. We are live down here at Youngstown Studio. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really helps out the show, our studio. We have tens of thousands of followers, which is great. But, if there's anybody that would be interested in this show or Youngstown Studios programming, make sure to share that with a friend. And if you can't watch live, you can always watch replays on YouTube or just look for search for Youngstown Studio on any of your podcast feeds. So on these shows, we obviously get into sports here, at least my show. We talk mostly the Cleveland stuff, Browns, Guardians, Cavs, talk a little Ohio State, little YSU Penguins. Which we're going to do all of that today, but we're going to get a little weird here too. We'll talk movies, TV, pop culture, all these different things that are going on, and we'll get after that too. So let's get started with the Cleveland Browns first and foremost, and let's just start with that. So Joe, the Browns have made a couple trades this week. They send out Joe Flacco to the division rival Cincinnati Bengals. They send out Greg Newsome to the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. So what's your thoughts on some of these trades, and what are they thinking in the front office?
So my prediction was that Joe Flacco was going to do the first 4 games and they were to hand it over to whoever they were trying to see if they worked out. So that aligns. I did not expect them to dump Flacco.
Yeah.
I thought he would still be a person in the room, but if you can get good value for him, why not?
Yeah.
But a division opponent, that concerns me.
So it's interesting because Flacco probably is going to start this week for the Bengals against the Green Bay Packers, who he didn't really beat them. The team beat them. The Browns won that game 13-10 in a weird game a couple weeks back. But I think I heard he could be one of the first quarterbacks in NFL history to beat the opposite division foe more than once in a season. So like AFC teams can only play an NFC team or an out of division opponent one time unless you're traded. So this is one of those rarities that he could possibly beat them. But it's really interesting to think that they, we go back, if we hit the rewind button, go back to March or April, we had Flacco, we had Pickett, and you had the 2 rookies. And we're like, are they going to go to training camp with all 4? They did. And then it's like, a lot of people were like, Kenny Pickett's going to be the guy. Kenny Pickett's going to be the guy. Well, Kenny Pickett was hurt. And then, the Raiders backup gets hurt. And so the Raiders are like, hey, you trade. We send him out. We get a 5th round pick. Joe Burrow goes down. Joe Flacco comes in play. We get another 5th round pick for that. So I like the accumulation of assets for the franchise. This team is accumulating a ton. They have 10 draft picks next year in the draft alone. But you're leaving Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, I believe Bailey Zappi is like the practice squad guy. He started the last game of last year against the Ravens. But I don't know what the plan is, if they're going to make Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel is obviously the starter, but who's going to be the backup? Is it going to be Shedeur? Are they going to bring Bailey Zappi up and make Shedeur just leave him as the emergency quarterback? Because from what it sounds like, they don't want Shedeur to play unless he gets a full week of preparation leading up to that opponent, which I can kind of understand. What do you think? Who should be the backup quarterback in this situation? Bailey Zappi, who has started some games in the NFL. He's a capable quarterback, or should it be Shedeur?
I think it should be Shedeur. If he's a serious prospect for something in the future, it's disrespectful to now make him 3rd quarterback, and then now when he has a chance to be back up, that he's nowhere near it. I think honestly, I think he'll feel disrespected and he'll buy out of the culture of the team.
Okay, that's fair. He seems to be, by all accounts, a pretty likable guy. He does some stuff that's a little weird sometimes. Rex Ryan criticized him on one of the ESPN shows, and he just basically said, shut your mouth, do your job. And then when they benched Flacco and made Gabriel the quarterback, a reporter for the Browns asked him a question, and he like mimed the thing. I thought that was pretty stupid. It shows a little immaturity. I think that part shows he's not quite ready to be the guy yet. He's had cameras in his face his whole life. He's used to the spotlight, the limelight, all that stuff. He's very, very talented throwing the football, but the other stuff, the reading a defense, I think before this season, and somebody out there could correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard he had taken less in his entire life in games, less than 10 snaps at under center. So that's a huge deal in the NFL. You have to take some snaps under center, just the way offenses work, defenses work. And so I don't think he's ready, but I don't think there's any harm in making him the backup. And if he gets thrown in the fire, so be it. You know, this season, I mean, what were your expectations coming into this season? The Browns going to the Super Bowl, right?
I came into it, and both you and BJ humbled me and said, I don't know if they're going to win 4 games all freaking season. Yeah. I'm like, what are you seeing when I'm not seeing? And then it started playing out. I was like, oh, that's what they were seeing. Total chaos. Mm-hmm. Not a lack of talent by any means whatsoever.
Right.
Not even, like, I want to blame, like, that last game on total coaching. Like, that was a loss just based on screw-ups on the coaching side of things.
Stefanski did not handle that time management well.
But we have coaching talent. Mm-hmm. But I think we're just mismanaging the execution on every level.
I agree with that. On every level. Oh. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree so much with that. Like the Browns, you look at Stefanski as a whole. He's a really good coach, 2-time NFL Coach of the Year. But the other 3 seasons and this season, they haven't been that good. You know, they really haven't. I think he's like something like 41 and 48 or 49 in his career. The Browns haven't scored 17 points since December 2nd of last year. So we're talking like 10 games. We haven't scored more than 17 points. That's a problem. We finally won the turnover battle against the Vikings 2-0. And, you know, we end up losing that game. We have this elite defense. And you have one-armed Carson Wentz, who's the backup quarterback for Minnesota with a banged-up offensive line, and he goes down. And he's got great receivers, but they go down and go 80 yards against our elite defense that's supposed to be one of the best in the NFL. It's like good teams find ways to win. Right. Bad teams find ways to lose, and that's what I think this Browns
and that's
team does.
Where the coaching really showed me, like that defense, if it were just a vanilla offense against you, then we would have held up and it would have neutralized. But that was just superior coaching.
Yes.
And they played weaknesses against us, and they showed offense that wouldn't have been there, you know, based on compared with the other 4 games that we already played.
And the coach on the other sidelines, former Browns quarterback coach Kevin O'Connell, he was the quarterback coach, I think, when Manziel was in Cleveland. But it's like all these other guys that are super talented, and there's nothing wrong with Kevin Stefanski. Love him as a coach. But I don't know. Like, I think if this team doesn't get to 5 wins this year, you probably have to move on. You probably have to. So, we're 1-4. So that means there's 12 games left. You got to go 4-8 the rest of the way, I think, to save your job. So just my opinion, but like you said, there is talent on this team, and you look at the rookies. So let's start with Dylan Gabriel. Looked capable last week. Looked like a pretty good quarterback.
Now, do you have belief in his arm strength to be able to stretch the field and use some of your wide receiver weapons?
He has a strong enough arm. He does not have Joe Flacco arm strength, but he has great processing skills. He's a shorter guy, so he's gonna have to move a little bit around the pocket. I think he's like 5'9", 5'10", which is not the smallest quarterback in the NFL, but he's definitely in the, you know, with Kyler Murray and like bottom 2-3 guys. But he played 6 years of college football. He is an elite processor. So I think if you could take if you take Joe Flacco's arm strength, Dylan Gabriel's processing, and Shador's accuracy, you probably have the perfect quarterback, but unfortunately, you can't Frankenstein.
No,
these guys
you'd
together.
have Baker Mayfield. Is what you would have.
Well,
With the stature of Dylan Gabriel.
So there's been a lot of Baker Mayfield talk because he is, and for good reason. He's playing maybe at an MVP level right now in Tampa. He's making Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State look like the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. He is playing, like you said, at an MVP level, a lot of comebacks, and that is all well and good. But where people choose to remember history, Baker Mayfield, I know he played through injury. He stunk his last year in Cleveland. He also stunk when he went to the Carolina Panthers. They dropped him. Any team in the NFL could have had him. Any team for like that minimum. And he catches on with the LA Rams, finishes out the last few games there, and then he fell into the perfect situation in Tampa. But give him credit. He grew up, he matured, he's better, he's fiery, and everybody, all the great stuff we loved about Baker Mayfield, he has now matured and become a great quarterback in the NFL. Probably top 7, top 8 quarterback right now in the NFL. And what do the Browns need right now? A top 7 or 8 quarterback in the NFL. And it's hard to see him succeed other places, but no, you had that. But at the same time, he wasn't there yet with the Browns. He was good, and then he had that shoulder injury. Then he stunk, but he needed to mature too. And so give him credit because he's done whatever he needed to do to grow up, to become a better quarterback, to become a better leader, and he's showing out. So I don't know.
So what I think what Dylan does, and I think that's why he was the right choice for now.
Mm-hmm.
He is making our really I don't know what our offensive line look way better than they are
Our
just because of his quick reads, decisive actions, and he's taking pressure off of himself by not giving the defense a chance to be able to, break through whatever that porous line that they actually have.
And talk about like getting thrown into the fire. I know they benched Flacco last week. They named him the starter, but that was not your typical week last week. He went from, being the backup to being named the starter, probably practicing twice in Cleveland, getting on a flight to London. And he is the first quarterback ever to start his first game as an NFL quarterback overseas or in an international game. And like you said, like I said, like he handled it well. He did great. So good for him. But it still wasn't good enough to win. But like you said, too, he does make the offensive line look better because he's quicker. He gets the ball out of there faster. Is he going to have balls batted down? Yes.
Yeah. There was one significant one that I can remember where a ball that was batted down wouldn't have happened if you had a 6'3" quarterback back there.
Exactly. And is he going to probably make some mistakes? Yeah, of course. All quarterbacks do, but especially as a rookie, he's going to probably be seeing things that he's going into Pittsburgh this weekend. That's going to be a tough environment. The Browns haven't won there in the regular season since 2003. I mean, postseason, that playoff game was we will remember till the day we die. But yeah, they haven't won in the regular season since I think Tim Couch in 2003.
Well, this year Steelers have a loose wheel. If we're gonna take it, let's do it this year.
They do, and the Steelers. How does everything just work out so well for them?
I know.
That's like Baltimore right now is reeling. Lamar Jackson's hurt. The Bengals are, they have to take the Browns quarterback to upgrade from their system. And then the Steelers sign old Aaron Rodgers, who's doing okay. He's doing okay. The defense is playing okay, but they're doing just enough to get by.
Right.
And things just work out well for them. They are the luckiest franchise in the NFL, if not all of pro sports. And, we're going to go in there. It's a 5.5 point spread, I think, this weekend. And they are a team that loves to play close games, that figures out a way to win. And the other team, the Browns, are a team that loves to play close games and loves to figure out a way to lose. And it's very frustrating.
You credit Tomlin for that?
That
coaching?
I am a Mike Tomlin fan. I think he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's done it for 18 years or something like that. He is so good. And Steeler fans, we've said this before, they bitch about him. They complain about him. They moan about his decisions. And yeah, he's probably been conservative sometimes when he could be a little bit more aggressive. But what does he do? He wins.
Yep.
He gets you to the playoffs or gets you to that final week where you got a chance. And they don't know how good they have it until. So hopefully they run him out of town eventually. And he'll get another job like that. But
if you don't tell me where he's from, like Browns should take him as a coach.
Oh my God. Yeah. Browns would,
2 seconds.
I would love him. Would I replace if I could have Stefanski as like the offensive guru and like Mike Tomlin as the defensive guy, but like just the head coach of the offense, head coach of the defense. And then they mix it, they mix in Mike Tomlin's little bit of fire with Kevin Stefanski's like more chill approach. That's like the perfect coach right there.
Absolutely.
A great
and you got to sign Babu Boucher for Tomlin's use.
From the LS
Mud Dogs.
Yeah. Hell yes.
We suck again.
Oh, you can do it. Hey, they came back and won that Bourbon Bowl. Remember that?
You know it. Favorite game ever.
So let's I don't know. This week you're playing the Steelers.
Well,
and again,
can we talk? The second one was Greg Newsome.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So Greg Newsome, actually, from what that trade looks to be for me, is we actually did a Greg Newsome and the corner, and I forget his name right now because it's been a busy week and I just haven't studied it. But it sounds like that's an upgrade to me. And we did. We gave them a 6th rounder. They gave us a 7th rounder back. But this Greg Newsome was on the last year of his rookie deal. We were either going to pay him or lose him in free agency. And we get this new corner from Jacksonville, and he's in the first year of a 4-year deal. So
we get three years.
And he was the first pick of the 2nd round, I believe the same year as Newsome or the year after Newsome. So this guy is a really nice player, probably pretty comparable, but can play on the outside a little bit and probably a slight upgrade over Newsome. So we'll take that. We'll take that.
Especially if Greg Newsome, we lose him to free agency at the end of the year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You put together a 4-win season, and there's zero likelihood that you're going to track somebody that's above what we just traded for.
Exactly. So this, and we've talked about these draft picks a lot. So the Browns have 10 draft picks, but what is the most? So let's take quarterback off the board, because I think no matter if you have a good quarterback or a bad quarterback, everyone is striving for that elite franchise level quarterback, which only 7-8 teams in the league truly have. There's a bunch of good quarterbacks, but there's also a lot of bad ones out there. But let's take quarterback off the board. So looking at the rest of the positions, running back, wide receiver, tight ends, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, cornerback, safeties. What position do you most want the Browns to address in the draft in 2026?
Offensive line. You give me a tackle, you give me someone inside, like I'm taking it in a heartbeat. I like our tight end. I like our safeties. Now we'll see, what I love our running back. Our wide receivers could use an upgrade, but I like them. So yeah, our defense is freaking amazing. Yeah. So my offensive line is where it's all at.
So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Number 1, offensive line. Number 2, wide receiver to me, because you have Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy is a great number 2. I think he's like a 1B if you have another guy that's comparable, but I don't think Jerry Jeudy is the main number 1 target. When Jameis Winston was quarterback, he looked like the number 1 guy. But besides that, he looks like a number 2 wide receiver. He drops the ball too damn much.
Yes.
And you can't have your elite number 1 wide receiver dropping the ball in crucial situations. So Jerry Jeudy, I think going forward, is a great weapon to have with Njoku, with Quinshon Judkins, with Harold Fannin, the rookie. But you got to protect your quarterback, and you gotta have playmakers on the outside.
Yeah.
If you don't have playmakers, teams can start stuffing the box against the run, or just bring in pressure against a rookie quarterback who doesn't have elite playmakers to go. It's going to be very interesting to see what Joe Flacco does, because Joe Flacco is maybe playing now behind a worse offensive line, but he has 2 elite wide receivers with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So
do you think that he was slower in his decision making this year than he was in the 2 years ago?
He looked slow as hell physically. Decision making, I don't know, but I don't feel like our wide receivers were getting like a ton of separation, and it doesn't help when you hit them in the hands and they freaking drop the ball and it lands in the other team's hands. That's the Cincinnati game. That was the story of the game. They just blew it. Detroit, we weren't in that game. Green Bay, I have no idea how we won that game. I think Green Bay might go to the Super Bowl this year. And then the other games, Baltimore, that was just bad. That was a bad performance all around. The defense played well. The offense stunk and couldn't do anything. But we shall see what happens here. But again, this year, I think most realistic Browns fans understood that this season was about development and not winning. You want to win ideally while you're developing.
That 8 years in the running, development. Don't worry about winning.
Yes, yeah. Who cares about winning? Just keep developing.
We're developed. Perpetual development incorporated.
And there's a lot of people out there that are like, well, Andrew Berry and draft picks don't work. If you look at this year's draft, it looks like they kind of nailed it. So you got Mason Graham, the rookie from Michigan, defensive tackle, looks really good. And he's not going to put up like eye-popping stats, because defensive tackles don't necessarily get a ton of tackles, ton of sacks. They create opportunities for other players. Quinshon Judkins looks like the real deal.
Awesome.
He already looks like a top 10 running back in the NFL. And it's cool to have an Ohio State running back mixed with the Browns. Like, for me, I think that's just kind of fun.
I think our linebacker was the best pickup of the draft.
Yeah, when 100%. We took Carson Schlesinger, I was like, I don't even know who this guy is. I didn't watch much UCLA football. That guy is involved in every single play. Doesn't come off the field. And can you imagine if we get JOK back healthy with him next year, what you compare those two to do? They'll be all over the field.
100%.
Here's a question for you, Browns related. And we'll mention Fannin and some other rookies that are doing great. But if the Browns were serious, like I can't put myself in Andrew Berry's head and Paul DePodesta's head and Kevin Stefanski's head and Jimmy Haslam's head, but are the Browns tanking and developing, or are they trying to compete and win while developing? It's like, what are we really trying to do? Because if you wanted to do a full, quicker rebuild, why didn't we trade Myles Garrett? I still can't figure that out. Like, I love Myles Garrett. He's probably one of the best he's definitely a top 5 player in Browns history. But if we were serious about development, why did we not trade him for 2, maybe even 2 first rounders and a second rounder, or another player or whatever? Why did we keep Myles Garrett around when we knew we were developing? Does this team think they can turn it around as quick as next year and he's ready to roll? Or, are they just like half-assing it? It's like, well, we're going to kind of middle it. It's like, to me, I think if you're going to rip the Band-Aid off, just rip it off. Trade Garrett, get your 2 first rounders, maybe 3 first rounders, whatever you can accumulate. And you're right. You'd be back to being great in maybe 2 years. So what do you think?
Classic hedging.
Yeah.
So you enter a game and you take the I want to win approach. And by the third quarter, when you know it's absolutely not going to win, you're not going to win. Then you put in your backups and you start developing Gabriel. So they're absolutely, they've already warmed up to the fact that they might have an absolutely terrible season and they're going to do X, but they're going to still go into the game thinking that maybe these guys will snap to and we'll be able to put something that we can be proud of together. So it's a math thing at this point. DePodesta brought that to us.
Yeah, a lot of analytics, and I don't know what that's doing for us right now. It's not paying off.
But with the Myles Garrett thing, like Myles Garrett being on the team gave you just enough of a, his name recognition to keep the rest of the team together. Like if Myles bolts, like how much faith is the rest of your team going to have in the fact that you're trying to win?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe we could have got huge value for him in the draft, but we still accumulated just as many draft picks by one-offing some of these players to pull those assets together.
Sure. And I have heard some of these 5th round picks or 6th round picks that you're picking up could be like packaged together to move up maybe to the top 50 to get a couple guys maybe that they're targeting. Do you think right now it's a foregone conclusion that the Browns will take a quarterback in round 1?
I think it is really too early because if they get to rotate Dylan and Shedeur through and really get to a good feel of where they're really at, it might change the whole game. I don't think they've played enough to know for sure. Now, with a question for you, when you see a press conference and Myles Garrett comes out and he does his thing, do you almost wince with how much torture this man is going through?
I don't feel bad for Myles Garrett. He's making $40-some million a year. He chose to sign back here. If he really was serious about his trade demand, he would have just said, you know what? I'm not playing until you trade me. So I don't feel bad for the guy. He also could have stepped up and made a huge play and won you the game on Sunday, and he was mostly quiet. I love Myles Garrett as a player? Yes, I do. I'm happy he's on the Browns, but I also would probably be happy if we had accumulated assets for him too. So I don't know. I believe it's Sahid commented, y'all have to stop with this. Shedeur doesn't know stuff. You're 1-4. I do not know Shedeur Sanders personally. I am going off of what national media has suggested, the local beat writers have suggested, and just draft gurus have said, like, it's a literal fact. Shedeur Sanders has not taken anything but a shotgun snap less than 10 times in his entire career. Can he read a defense? No. You saw in a preseason game versus third string players for the Carolina Panthers, or what was the other game? The Eagles, maybe. He was running backwards.
40 yards back.
Like, yeah, at least. I think you're right. I think he took like a 20-yard sack. You cannot do that. Now you're playing all ones the whole game. I hope Shedeur Sanders is the guy for the Cleveland Browns. I hope Dylan Gabriel is the guy for the Browns. I hope anybody is the guy for the Browns. We've been wanting a quarterback, but people want to make this like a race thing, like a black thing or a Deion Sanders thing. I hope Shedeur Sanders is the right guy for the Cleveland Browns. That means we don't have to use a pick next year on a quarterback. We would have our guy in the freaking building right now. So I think people see this as like, oh, it's a white head coach versus a black quarterback. Well, I mean, that's not it at all. Stupid. Like, it's so stupid. What coach, what organization doesn't want the guys you have in the building to be the guy right now? You know, so they obviously see the talent in him. I think Shedeur is probably the best passer of the football in the Cleveland Browns building right now.
Accuracy and arm strength.
Accuracy for sure. Arm strength, I think, is very good. I don't think it's elite, but I think it's very good.
But I think Dylan is the smarter quarterback.
But I think if you take Dylan's processing ability with Shedeur's accuracy, you have probably the quarterback you're looking for. Right. But Shedeur's got to learn on the job, and so does Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, though, has played at Central Florida, Oklahoma, and Oregon, where you saw the best talent in college football against him. But obviously the coaching staff who Saheed, apologies to you because maybe you're there in Berea and see him, but obviously those guys in the building see him, know what they're doing, and know they see a hell of a lot more of the quarterbacks than we do. And what we see on the field is just a small sample size of what they see day in, day out. But do we want Shedeur to succeed? Hell yes. Whether that means he becomes the future number one or an asset you can trade out and he can be the number one somewhere else. Yeah, let's do that. But if you're asking me right now, do I want Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders to be the guy for the Browns? Yes, I do, because that means we can use our asset on 2 offensive linemen for 2 first-round draft picks next year, or a wide receiver and an offensive lineman, or a safety and offensive lineman, or take your pick of whatever 2. You can use your accumulated assets and use them on the best player available instead of desperately searching for the quarterback that's the answer. So,
all right. So, two hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Now, you have 2 quarterbacks to choose from, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And you have a leaky offensive line.
Yeah.
Which quarterback do you want? Would you trust more behind a leaky offensive line?
Right now, it's Dillon Gabriel for sure.
Now, if you have wide receivers who really struggle to get open and drop passes, which quarterback do you want to be there?
Dillon Gabriel. Right now, my answer is probably going to be Dillon Gabriel for just about anything because he is the processor. He's a quick decision maker. What does Shedeur do? He holds the ball. He's a little bit like a Justin Fields but he doesn't have that athletic ability that Justin Fields does. He's not that quick guy. He's a little bit like Deshaun Watson, who he doesn't have that athletic ability. He's a talented guy. He is probably a better passer of the football than those 2 I mentioned. And I hate to just use those 2 other guys as examples because they're black quarterbacks, and I don't want this to be a black and white thing. I'm trying to think of a white quarterback that I can use as an example. Maybe like a Sam Darnold does the same thing. He holds onto the ball a long time.
All right, so let me reverse it.
Yeah.
You have an offensive line, can give you a 3-second pocket no matter what. Do you want Gabriel or do you want Shedeur?
I think right now the answer is going to be Dillon Gabriel still. If I have enough time and I need a ball placed in a certain position for one throw and I know that quarterback's going to have time, I'd probably take Shedeur in that situation.
All right, so your wide receivers match up. They always get a 1 step on their DBs. And which quarterback do you want to place the ball down the field?
Does he have time to throw?
He's got time, 3 seconds.
Then I'll take Shedeur in that situation.
Shedeur's got one of the 4 quadrants.
Yes.
Then. Basically said
he is a accuracy ball placement specialist, which is a very good skill to have. And that is one of the, you want athleticism, you want the intangibles, you want the measurables, you want the height, and Shedeur's got Dillon Gabriel beat on probably accuracy and probably the measurables for sure. Oh, definitely the measurables. He's taller, he's a thicker guy, where he can hold up. He's taken a ton of hits in his career already in college, but I think he's got a ton of potential. I mean, obviously, people were talking about him being the number 2 pick in the draft in February or March. But obviously, there's some growing pains that he's got to go through, and I don't think people that are in the Shedeur camp can see that. They are blinded by he's being put out because people don't like his dad or this and that. If he was the best option right now, the Browns would put him on the field.
So I'm not talking to Coach Coffin right now. I'm talking to personal Coffin. Do you have a hunger to see him on the field?
I would love to see him play. But with that said, if Dillon Gabriel balls out the rest of the year, I hope he can. I hope he can. And then it's like, we might have a guy going forward. But if Dillon Gabriel is just like an average quarterback that's kind of like waffling along, the season, then yeah, I mean, why not play him, get him ready for a start later in the year and see what he's got. So chemistry, like you've coached a bunch. So a bunch. 13 years. Yeah.
So when a quarterback, like when you get to compare two quarterbacks and their preference,
never coached football though, so
still same thing.
Yeah.
When you see a quarterback that sort of like gravitates to a certain person, what chemistry makes them find that person? Is it like trust?
You're talking about like a wide receiver or tight end?
Yeah. So like, for instance, if you had Joe Flacco,
like him and Njoku had a great
100%.
And it seemed like almost like Flacco and Cedric Tillman had like a good connection.
What about those personalities make you look for that?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's like necessarily personality or it's just like the route they're running and maybe they're giving you a little bit of space or maybe you're just more comfortable throwing them the ball. Or maybe it's a trust thing. It's like, hey, if I throw freaking Jerry Jeudy another ball and he drops another one, then, like, I don't care how many steps he's got on a guy, like we're not completing it. So it's like, I'm going to just take a chance and throw it to Tillman, who I know it will at least do everything he can to pull it down and pull it in and move the chains. So I don't know.
I bet you a lot of that happens in like the practice field side where they throw so many passes to those people. They can predict where they're going to be, when they're going to be there. And that confidence, like if I'm Gabriel and I'm coming into my first game ever, and I know that if I have a stinker, like I might not ever see that field again. I go to my most reliable, predictable, non-risky options. And so I utilize the David Njoku's who runs his route, hits his marks, and he's always open and catches the ball. Versus the Judys, who I might throw it to him, and I did everything I was supposed to do. He dropped the ball, but it doesn't matter.
And Jerry Jeudy, we know, has that talent. He literally last year set the most receptions in a season by a Browns wide receiver ever. And, in one season. But he is not outside of like really when Jameis Winston was throwing him the ball. He has not proven he is a reliable number one receiver. So, yeah.
Did he come from Denver? Is that where? Okay. Yeah. So we got him from Denver, and he also had sort of a reputation in Denver.
He was always on the trade block in Denver too. And the Browns
for the same reason.
Yeah. And he is fast. Runs great routes. He was a former high first round pick, but there's just something that hasn't all come together for him. And I don't know if it's the hands or the speed or route running or just adapting to the NFL game, but he has proven he's very good, but he's not great. So he needs to take that next step if he wants to be a true number one. So
how's it feel to see Nick Chubb blowing it up in Texas, by the way?
Oh, he's
doing well.
He's doing okay.
Explosive.
He
got back a lot of what I thought he lost due to the injury. And that's nice to see.
Let me ask you this though. Would you rather right now today?
I already have your answer.
Quinshon Judkins or Nick
Judkins,
Chubb? Yeah.
100%.
So I think before when Quinshon Judkins had his off the field issues, it was like, oh man, we really need Nick Chubb. We miss Nick Chubb. But now it's like Quinshon Judkins is your featured back. You have the other rookie in Samson, who is a really nice, like he's going to be like your third down back. He's going to be like, he can run between the tackles. He can run outside. He can catch a lot of passes, but he's going to be your like, if Quinshon Judkins is your thunder, he can be your lightning type back. And you still have Jerome Ford, which would not surprise me to see Jerome Ford possibly traded.
You think we carry three backs, or you think we're done with four?
No, I think we will carry three, but yep. And again, a lot of thinking for a third string quarterback. Again, it is what it is. But the Browns this year, we have to see what we got. But with the running backs, Judkins 1, Samson 2, Ford 3, and Ford's a serviceable running back, but he is not by any means an every down back. You got your guy in Quinshon Judkins, and that pick. A lot of people were giving the Browns a lot of flack because Travion Henderson, the other Ohio State running back, went 2 picks after him, and he was blowing it up in the preseason while Quinshon Judkins had some off the field issues. But you look, Quinshon Judkins, first 100-yard rusher in 2 years since the Baltimore game a couple years ago. First rookie since Nick Chubb to have 100 yards rushing, and I think he's like third or fourth all time in explosive plays. like 20 plus yard runs through their first 4 games in NFL.
He's
history.
a real deal.
He's
no doubt.
He's legit. He's going to be your future guy. So, as long as he can stay healthy, you got your running back, you got pretty good tight ends, you have adequate wide receivers. So, but again, it all goes back: quarterback, wide receiver, O-line. Those are your 3 biggest needs. I hope the Browns spend every pick of the draft next year on offense.
100%.
And trade some of those 6th, 7th rounders, try to move up to the 5th round, 4th round, whatever, and accumulate as much talent on offense as you can. Everyone that watches football and knows the game of football knows the game starts up front. Offensive line, defensive line, then you build backwards, and then you acquire the skill outside of that. But you have to be tough in the trenches, or you're not going to win games. So
what about our offensive line, that we are so, if the injuries are so persistent on that line, whether it be Jack Conklin, who's, I think every Tuesday he's injured, might be every Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm not
he
sure.
actually played well and made it through the game last week.
For a game.
Yeah, for a game. So, yeah, I mean,
why it feels like we are that's always directed at the Browns for injuries.
I don't think it's just a Browns problem, because Vikings were beat up. Their offensive line, a lot of their guys were out. The Texans, a lot of their guys have been out. And you can probably look up and down rosters. This offensive line is not an easy position to handle, but the Browns just have to put it together. You go back, look 3 years ago too. Bill Callahan was your offensive coach. You had one of the best offensive lines in the league, and now you have one of the worst. But you have to, DeJuan Jones is great when he plays, but he's out for the year. He missed a bunch of games in his first 2 seasons. Jack Conklin misses a ton of games. He's about to be put out to pasture. Joel Bitonio is probably going to be a Hall of Fame player, but he's getting old. He's getting up there. How many snaps does he have left in him? Wyatt Teller's good, but again, he isn't great necessarily in the pass game. He's great in the run game, but again, how long is he going to be around? You have Ethan Posick. He's a good center. How long is he going to be around? So you have to bring in a ton of good offensive depth at the offensive line position. I wouldn't be upset if I would try to go skill in the first round next year.
Good deal.
But then 2nd through 5th round or whatever,
four offensive linemen.
I
am with you.
Bring in as much talent as you can, and hopefully you can develop some of those guys, or use some of your free agency money next year on a legit proven guy too. So I don't know. The Browns, they're never dull. That's for sure. But they always give us something to talk about. But we didn't even get a chance to get to a lot of our weird stuff we wanted to talk about. But we vented. We got 13 minutes. So let's go to 1:30. We got 13 minutes. So let's close the book on the Browns. Give me a prediction this week. What do you think? The Browns, I think, are 5.5 point underdog, and the total was like 38.5. What's your prediction?
So we hang into the 4th quarter and we lose in weird circumstances where we get beat by the coaches.
Okay. All right. So here's my next question. Do the Browns score more than 17 points this week?
No. 14 best.
Okay. All right. So you're thinking like a 2014, 21-14 type game?
That's about it.
That's right along where I was thinking. I was thinking Steelers 21, Browns 17, which would be right at that total, which would be almost right at that spread. So I think the Steelers do get it done this weekend, unfortunately. But again, hedge your happiness. Maybe the Browns will surprise us.
If they win, it's like exceeding expectations.
Exactly. Set the bar low.
Overperform.
Yeah. Undersell, overachieve.
Yes.
That'd be a great name for a show down here. Undersell, overachieve. That's sometimes what I try to do on the podcast. Just undersell it, but overachieve and try to do better. All right. What else do you want to get into before we get out of here?
And the Ohio State, like, what's your feelings on, they pulled out everything? What's your confidence level with this offense?
The offense is great. It's in a good place. I think Julian Sayin, the quarterback, is improving week to week. He's the most efficient passer in college football. He's like right around 81% completions. You have the best 2 wide receivers, in my opinion, in college football. You got Jeremiah Smith, you got Carnell Tate, you got Bo Jackson at running back. You have an elite tight end group. You got great offensive line. So Ohio State just reloaded this year. But we talk as much about the offense. The defense hasn't given up more than 9 points in a game this year. The defense lost 8 starters last year. 8 starters. And I think all of them are in the NFL right now. And they might be better this year because you have the best player on defense in college football, Caleb Downs, the safety, which he'd look good in orange and brown next year. But he's going to be probably a top 10 pick. You have Arvell Reese, who wears number 8 for Ohio State. He, by a lot of draft analysts, is their favorite player in the draft. He is a freak show. He can rush the passer. He can cover. He's like 6'5", 250, and he can run like no other. So between Caleb Downs, so it's every level. Once again, defensive line is good. You replaced every starter, but they're all good. Caden Curry is probably the best on that group. Linebackers are fantastic, probably the best in the country. And then your secondary, I've heard some Ohio State podcasters that are beat writers say they would replace Ohio State's secondary. We know an NFL team would never lose to a college team, but they said they would take Ohio State's secondary right now over the Cincinnati Bengals secondary.
Wow.
Over the Dallas Cowboys secondary.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, like Ohio State's is just so good on every single level. Are they perfect? No, but they bend and don't break on defense, and offense is so efficient. They are one of the slowest paces in the country, which means they take some of the fewest snaps on offense in the country, but they are legitly scoring on almost every single drive. So you look at their schedule now, Texas doesn't look like the former number 1 team in the country that they were in the preseason. Penn State, Ohio State, the thing with them is they are the biggest game on whatever team they are playing schedule. So every team that gets them, you're going to get their best shot, and it's their Super Bowl or their college football playoff, whatever analogy you want to make. But Ohio State, the rest of the year, you got a couple big games. You're at Illinois this weekend. They're the number 17 team in the country. You host Penn State in a couple weeks, who is still very talented despite a really bad loss to a really bad UCLA team. And you have Michigan at the end of the season. Those are your 3 games left on your schedule, really, that are maybe slightly concerning. And Ohio State's going to be favored in every one of those games. So it's a matter of, can you get the job done? My question to you, I know you're not like the college football aficionado that you are with like the NFL, but Ryan Day is 75-10 as a head coach. He is 51-1 against ranked opponents, and he's 24-9 against top 25 teams. He still does not get the credit that he deserves, in my opinion. He's a national champion now. There's only 3 active national championship head coaches in college football. Ryan Day, Kirby Smart has 2, Dabo Swinney has 2. Dabo's team stinks this year. Georgia is still a top 10, top 12 type team, but they've taken a step back. Ohio State maybe hasn't been the top dog over the last 20 years, but they've been number 2 or number 3. So Alabama had its great run. Who was right up there with Alabama? Ohio State. When Clemson had their great run, Alabama was there. So was Ohio State. When Georgia was the main team on the block, who was right there with them? Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't go away. They don't have these ebbs and flows like other teams do. So that is to Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, and now Ryan Day's credit, because they recruit at an elite level. They coach their team up at an elite level, and they get the best performance out of those guys. Do they have a few, they're college kids. They're 18 to 22, 23-year-old kids. Are they going to be perfect all the time? No, but you can't argue with success. They're right there. And like the Michigan fans want to push back and say, oh yeah, what's his record against Michigan? Okay. But what's Michigan's head coach's record right now? He's like 12-6 so far. So he would have to go like 64-4 over his next 68 games just to equal Ryan Day with Sharon Moore. Jim Harbaugh, he had to cheat to get to the top in college football. And then what did he do? He bolted. So he,
Speaking of which, can we give Michigan maybe a little license to cheat a little bit so they can get at least competitive football?
And I will say Michigan looks to be a pretty good team this year. They're not great, but they're pretty good. And they have a freshman quarterback, Bryce Underwood. He looks the part. He looks really good. Their defense has taken a step back from last year. Their offense has taken a little step forward. So, they're
let me take my stab at them while I can.
But yeah,
don't add compliments in there when I want to stick my finger in their eye.
I want Michigan to lose every single game it plays, right. But I try to give credit when it's due. Michigan is not a bad football team. I don't think Sharon Moore is a great coach. Has he beat Ryan Day before? Yes, he has. But Ohio State just has to get out of its own way when it comes to that game, take care of business, and take care of, do your job in that game. They do their job. They handle their business. They're fine.
Well, to answer your question, I think every coach, Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel, Ryan Day, they've honored whoever came before them, and they've kept their recruitment and their underlying game plan from the previous. They didn't blow it up every season and recreate the deal. And I think that's what their strength is, where they made the changes in their own personality with their own ideas, but they honored whoever came before them.
Exactly. And that's what makes them great. Tradition, honor, excellence. A lot of people are like, oh, they make fun of Ohio State for saying the Ohio State University. If you take those three letters, THE, the tradition, honor, excellence, that's what the stands for. They've trademarked it. They've done a hell of a job. I know some spiteful college football fans will probably hate that, but you know what? I'm a proud alumni, and F you if you don't like it. So
one more thing about Ohio State before we wrap up. First quarters, every game this season have concerned me. The slow starting, the lack of offense. It's almost like a little bit of chaos for the first 5 minutes of at least every game. What is that all about?
So they have been slow starters. They were slow starters at Washington. They were slow starters last week against Minnesota, Texas. But they're also breaking in a new quarterback. Their defense is bend but don't break. And they're against the spread too. They're 4-1. And the only game they didn't cover, they lost by a half point. It was a 28.5 point line. They won by 28. So they're good teams win, great teams cover. So Ohio State is right there in the elites of the covering. But I do see your point, and I have a personal story about that, a personal betting story, which I got so damn lucky last Saturday. So I had a Notre Dame bet that didn't cash that I thought was there's no automatics in betting. We all know that. And I had an easy Notre Dame bet where all they had to do, their total for team points last week was supposed to be 41.5. They ended up scoring, I think, 28. So before the game, I somehow got on a live line. They were on their first drive of the game. Their team total was 30.5. I'm it's 11 points lower than 5 minutes into the game. I'm jumping on that. So I put a large bet that I don't normally do on Notre Dame. I'm they're going to easily get that. Well, they didn't. So I can see how people go to dark places with chasing gambling, because I did that last week, and I chased my first bet, and I was you know what? Ohio State's going to win this first quarter easy. So I just put Ohio State was minus 330. So I put a decent amount of money to win a decent amount of money. And if you know how that game went, Minnesota went down on a long drive, kicked a field goal. Ohio State, did they punt or I don't remember exactly. Oh, they missed a field goal. Ohio State missed a field goal. So they got the ball back with a minute less than 2 minutes to go. Down 3-0 in the first quarter. They hit a long pass to Carnell Tate up the sideline. They hit another long pass to Jeremiah Smith, who goes down at the 2-yard line. The clock is ticking with like 25 seconds left. I have to win the first quarter. I cannot tie. They hand the ball off. It is scored a touchdown with 8 seconds left. I'm like, that's awesome.
Close.
But wait a minute. The ruling on the field has changed. The runner's knee was down. The ball will be placed at the half-yard line. There was 8 seconds left on the clock. I'm like, oh, I am so screwed. They ran up to the line, ran another play, and I'm pretty sure they snapped the ball after the clock hit 0, and they scored a touchdown and saved my ass. So thank you, Ryan Day. Thank you, Brian Hartline, because you saved my ass on that one. And thank you. It was CJ Donaldson that scored that touchdown. And the offensive line, credit. We appreciate you. That was my own personal story of betting, which I don't normally make bets like that. Normally, I'm just like on the total or the over-under. But I was like, they're going to win the first quarter. This Minnesota team's not that good, or at least compared to Ohio State. And, I, by the skin of my teeth, 7-3 won that first quarter. So
I've only made 2 bets this year. What do you think my win percentage is?
50%.
0. I chased 2 big long odds stuff, and it was
That's
a
all
Hail
right.
Mary.
That's
and,
all right.
The other team caught the ball. So
I also have one more quick gambling story. So I have been betting some FCS games, so like Youngstown State's division, and I had a 5-leg parlay last week that would have paid, I think it was like 17 or 1800 on to 1. And it was a small bet. It was like a $20 bet. It wasn't like life-changing money, but the first 4 legs hit.
Oh no.
And if you're gambling on FBS games, you can hedge live during the game. So I could have bet the other team to just win.
Offset it a little bit.
So I could be like, I know I'm going to make $400 on this bet. I'll bet 200 and I'm guaranteed to win 200, something like that. But FCS games, you cannot live bet, at least on the app I use. And, but that game came down to the final play of the game. And it was at Georgetown. I can't remember who they were playing even too, but I had the under. So the game was 24-21. The under was 49.5. Hail Mary with 7 seconds left. Georgetown hits it, and the over busts and the parlay busts. So a 17 or 1800 to 1 parlay lost on a Georgetown. And this was not Allen Iverson throwing this ball. I don't know who their quarterback is, but that killed me. But it made me feel a little bit better because Scott Van Pelt on ESPN does a segment called Bad Beats with Stanford Steve, and they featured that, and they talked about that. And I was like, oh, that they didn't reference me by name, but I knew they were talking about me.
For
because
sure, that
I had
one
sent
came
them
through.
that. So
I would rather bust it completely and only get 1 leg of the parlay than to get 4 legs and miss the last one every time.
Exactly. Well, because that game started, I think all these games started at either noon or 1, and this was literally all the last things 1. So it was like Austin P and Villanova, and I don't know who else I had on there, but it was like all those teams had already won or covered. And yeah, it just came down. All they had to do was knock the ball down or incomplete or interception or a sack or whatever. But no, a Hail Mary.
I'd like to see what percentage of Hail Marys connect.
Oh,
it's probably got to be less than 10.
I would say like 4%, maybe.
Yeah.
Like 1 out of 25, something like that. So,
but you were the
and
victim of that one.
Yeah, that one really hurt. That one stings the nostrils, as whatever his name from Anchorman would say. So. All right. Well,
good.
Next week we're gonna get weird with some other topics, but yeah. So for Joe, I'm Justin. Everyone, thank you for watching the 330 Sports Show on Youngstown Studio. Again, follow, especially subscribe to Youngstown Studio on YouTube. There's a ton of great stuff that BJ and Joe and our team put together down here that is great and all sorts of content on every kind of topic under the sun. So appreciate you guys watching, listening, following. We will see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.